Good afternoon. This is meteorologist Drew Lerner of World Weather Incorporated, and this is a special update here on the temperatures and the impact on hard red winter wheat over the past week to week and a half. We're going to start off taking a look at the temperature extremes that occurred about a week ago. And I just wanted to kind of point out a couple of things to you. First of all, wheat was beginning to develop across hard red winter wheat areas, and for that matter, over a big part of the southern plains and the Delta and the southeastern states. All that was occurring as we got into mid-March. The development was not aggressive, but it was significant in some cases. You're looking at low temperatures that occurred in the weekend just past, not this one that is occurring today. This is March 22nd. So you're looking at March 14th through the 16th at lowest temperatures. And I want you to notice how cold they were. There was no snow on the ground in Nebraska, Colorado, or Kansas when these cold temperatures occurred. And they did occur after there was some wheat development across the plains. Now, over this past week, we did notice some significant damage done to various vegetation types, not only in hard red winter wheat country, but in other parts of the nation. The flowering fruit trees had already erupted with new blossoms from the central plains into the southern plains, and from there all the way over to the southeastern states. And you may or may not have noticed that all those blossoms burned up. There were nothing left. There was nothing left when we got to the end of that cold weekend that occurred. Now, the temperatures in the Delta and the Southeast were not quite as intense as those in the Central Plains, but the cold that occurred was certainly brutal. And the impact was rather great on many crops, and we did lose production potential for flowering fruit trees. And I think if we go back and take a look at some of the temperatures, we'll look at the nationwide temperatures for the lows last week across the heart of the U.S. And we'll note that there were notable freezes that occurred in most of the southern states. And of course, the cold was something that did end up inducing quite a bit of damage, and we did get freezes all the way down to the Gulf Coast. So I just kind of wanted to point that out because it sets the stage for what took place as we got through this last week. And a sudden change in temperatures did occur over this past 2 or 3 days, as you know. It was a fairly significant event. Let's take a look, first of all, at precipitation, which continues to be limited across most of hard red winter wheat country, and for that matter, over a big part of the U.S. But hard red winter wheat areas have been quite dry for quite some time. And we did expect to see quite a bit of impact when the cold air came around. This is the high pressure system that evolved as we went through the latter part of last week. It was a very intense high pressure system, and we saw lots of record highs being set across the western part of the United States. And it looks as though that heat will have a greater impact on some of the agricultural areas as we go forward through this week. We're going to find that there was a lot more damage done. And I think that is something we need to be at least aware of. These are the highest temperatures that occurred on Saturday. That was yesterday, the 21st of March. And you can see that we were in the upper 90s across hard red winter wheat country, with the exception of Colorado, Northwest Kansas, and a few areas in Nebraska, where temperatures were mostly in the lower 90s and upper 80s. Well, first of all, we did damage to the wheat crop with extreme temperatures that occurred a week ago, with it getting so cold. Winter killed? No, probably not. But there was some injury done to the crop. In order to fix the crop, we need to have rainy and cool weather. Instead, we saw the temperatures soar on Friday and Saturday, reaching a maximum on Saturday of temperatures at near and over 100 degrees in several locations. I mean, it wasn't just hard red winter wheat country. We saw that heat occur down into Texas as well. record-setting highs were noted in quite a few areas during the course of the weekend. These were the records that were set yesterday on Saturday. The pinkish dots there you can see is area in which there was supposed to be a either tying or breaking the monthly record. The darker reddish color there was for breaking the daily record high, and then the yellow dots were for areas that were coming close to the record for the date. Now, this was just Saturday. On Friday, we saw a lot of records in the western part of the United States, but Saturday was the day that was so brutal across the hard red winter wheat areas and portions of the western corn and bean production areas. Now, I think for the most part, the temperatures on Friday were less punishing across some of these areas. You can see that it wasn't quite so hot. And but we did see some readings getting up over 100 in West Texas and parts of the southwestern U.S. hard red winter wheat areas. So now what happens? That's the big question. And with the injury done to the crops and the lack of follow-up precipitation, there is a great deal of concern about where we're going from here. And the forecast models continue to suggest a frequent occurrence of warm weather. But first, let's take a look at this precipitation. For the coming 10 days, there is still not much precipitation occurring in hard red winter wheat country where all the injury has occurred. And as I explained to you before, we need to see cool and rainy weather in order for these crops that have been injured to set new tillers. As long as it continues to be dry, we're going to have some downward pressure on production. This is something that we will not be able to see until the yields are set, and that's going to be later in the spring. There's still potential for the crop to recover, but we have to have some significant rain evolve. Now, some of the forecast models, and you're looking at the 12Z or the midday run here on Sunday, some of the models have tried to bring some precipitation into hard red winter wheat areas as we get out into the second Saturday of the forecast. This is April 3rd and 4th. Now, I do want to suggest that there is potential for us to get some rain in that region. The big question is how significant will it be, and will it be enough to set new tillers? Let's take a look at the ensemble data for that time period as well, because the ensemble tends to give us a little better idea as to how good the models are with regard to the precipitation potential. Sometimes the ensembles will average out the precipitation for us a little bit. So this is getting out close to 10 days. And you can see that there's precipitation in the eastern half of hard red winter wheat country. I like this forecast a lot. Seeing some showers and thunderstorms in some of the wheat country will certainly be welcome. But this is not heavy rain. This isn't even above normal rain. If we go and take a look at what this precipitation is for the 7-day, you can see it comes close to normal in the white color here. But there's quite a bit of area that still sees below normal precipitation to the northwest and to the southeast. And when we go back and look at the way the model run ends and we get into that quote wetter period, you can see that the ensemble disagrees with the operational model and keeps most of the greatest precipitation east of hard red winter wheat country. And we can even go back and look at the precipitation anomaly here. I would urge a lot of caution, but way out towards the first week of April, there's a chance that maybe the southeastern part of hard red winter wheat country will get enough precipitation to offer some relief. The big key here is to keep an eye on this period of precipitation. If it does not materialize, there is going to be some further yield loss potential in hard red winter wheat country because of the extremes that have occurred. Now, I mentioned real briefly previously about the damage done to flowering fruit trees. And I think that we're going to find that a lot of the deciduous fruit production in the southern part of the United States is going to be reduced because of the very cold conditions that occurred last week, and then suddenly all the heat that has occurred since then. One last thing I would like to show you with the ensemble is the upper air wind flow pattern. And you'll be able to see here that we are not going to be done with the ridge pattern. In fact, some further research has indicated that we're going to see additional waves of heat coming on, but it's going to be separated by a week to maybe a week and a half at a time. So this is a secondary surge of heat that's coming up. It's advertised to occur as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. It'll be very short-lived. It will not be quite as potent as what we just saw over Saturday and Friday, but it will be very warm once again. Once that goes away, a new ridge of high pressure builds up over the western United States and starts to push into the central part of the country. And at this point, we'll see another round of warm weather. It's a full week away, but it also comes with a southwesterly flow pattern aloft, and that will bring moisture out of the Gulf of America and help to generate some shower activity. And that's why you're seeing some of that on the ensemble and the operational model run. As we move further out into that second week of the forecast, the southwest flow pattern becomes a little bit stronger and a little bit more significant and persistent. And so the chances of seeing rain in the southeast half of the plains, or I shouldn't say half, maybe southeastern one-third of the plains, the Delta and the lower Midwest, and even the southeastern states is fairly good. So there is opportunity here for a little bit of relief. And I should point out that there will be a chance for some showers in West and South Texas, which have also been chronically dry recently. But all of this will be in the first week of April and not between now and then. So I just kind of wanted to point all this out to you. The bottom line is I feel strongly that we have damaged some of the wheat crop in the plains from the bitter cold in January, the bitter cold that occurred a week ago, and now the extreme heat that occurred over this past weekend. And I believe that without any serious moisture being put into the ground, the crop will continue to struggle. This precipitation that's advertised in early April could help quite a bit, but it needs to be widespread, it needs to be significant, and it needs to be followed by or accompanied by some mild temperatures. Now, I mentioned that there'll be some more heat returning. There will be. A little later in April, we'll see another ridge coming in across the region, so be looking for that. This is meteorologist Drew Lerner.